When an overconfident young black belt playfully challenged a 63-year-old woman, no one anticipated her next move. The entire gym fell into stunned silence. "Come on, Miss Gloria, show us what you've got." Cody Ramirez's voice echoed across the East Side martial arts floor in Decatur, Georgia. His tone was light, teasing, yet sharp enough to sting if you were easily ruffled. He threw a casual jab into the air, grinning at the crowd gathering near the sparring mats. Most people chuckled, some rolled their eyes, a few whispered, nudging friends as if to say, "This will be quick." Gloria Trenton stood by the wall, a small duffel slung over her shoulder, her gray sweatshirt loose. She showed little reaction, simply blinking slowly behind her gold-rimmed glasses. She hadn't asked to spar. In fact, she hadn't spoken since entering. She'd just signed the waiver, thanked the young woman who gave her a tour, and quietly observed the younger fighters' drills. Cody, 28, was a regular, a Taekwondo black belt known for his flashy footwork, quick hands, and tendency to showboat for visitors, especially those not built like fighters. And Gloria? She looked like someone's Sunday school teacher. 5'2", silver hair neatly in a bun, comfortable shoes, a soft, lined face. The kind of woman you'd expect to be holding a casserole, not sparring gloves. "I'm just saying," Cody continued, bouncing on the balls of his feet. "You're watching like you're judging us. Why not jump in?" Gloria slowly placed her duffel on the bench and met his gaze. Her voice was soft, yet it cut through the space like a blade. "Are you sure?" she asked, no smile. Cody gave an exaggerated shrug. "You might surprise me." A few people laughed. The gym was already half full that Saturday afternoon, most sessions finished. The mats were clean, background pop music hummed low from the speaker. Unimportant. No one was listening to the beat anymore. Gloria pulled off her sweatshirt, folded it neatly, and walked to the mat. She didn't strut, didn't dramatically stretch, didn't look like she was building up to anything. But there was a quiet gravity in her stride that made a few people sit up straighter. Cody raised his eyebrows. "Okay then," he said, tightening his belt. "We'll go light." "No need," Gloria replied, her tone even. "Just don't hold back." Someone near the door murmured, "Wait, she's serious." No one had any clue what was coming. Gloria stepped onto the mat barefoot, rolling her shoulders once like brushing off dust. Cody nodded, bounced a little, tapped his knees and gave a quick bow. She returned it without hesitation. Then the bell tapped and it began. Cody moved first, quick and light, a testing jab toward her left shoulder. Gloria didn't flinch. She shifted, not back, not away, just sideways, just enough to cleanly evade it. Her hand came up, not fast, not hard, but fast enough to tap the back of Cody's elbow in passing. The gym fell silent. Cody reset. He came in again, a little more speed this time, a low kick followed by a feint to her right. She stepped into his space, not out of it, close enough to negate his range, close enough to make him blink. Then her hands were on his arm, her hips turned, and Cody, bless his heart, was on the mat. It wasn't loud, wasn't dramatic, just controlled, clean. He didn't fall, he was placed. A silence spread through the room, thicker than any shout. Cody slowly sat up, blinking at her as if he'd just seen the answer to a math problem he hadn't understood. She didn't gloat, didn't pose, she simply extended a hand to help him up. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded quietly. Yeah, I'm good." She turned, walked back to her bench and sat down as if nothing had happened. Someone in the back finally said, "What the hell just happened?" But Cody wasn't the only one knocked off balance that day. No one in the room said it aloud, but the atmosphere had shifted. You could feel it, not tense but alert, like people had been watching a game and suddenly realized they were in the front row of something real. Cody slowly stood, dusting off his pants. His eyes flicked to Gloria, who was calmly tying her shoes like she'd just finished a morning stroll. He forced a chuckle. "Hey, okay, that was slick. Wanna go another round?" She looked up, no smile. "Do you?" Now it was less of a joke. A few people leaned in. One of the trainers, an older man named Sam who'd run the gym for over 20 years, crossed his arms and watched quietly from the doorway. "I'll be gentle this time," Cody said, trying to regain the crowd. "I won't," Gloria replied flatly. He blinked. Someone coughed to cover a laugh. The people closest to the mat, regulars, folks who trained hard and didn't talk much, were paying close attention now. They weren't laughing. Cody rolled his shoulders and bounced back into position. Gloria walked toward the center of the mat again, unhurried. This time no music played. The moment the bell tapped again, Cody tried to use his speed. He circled fast, faked high, then spun for a back kick he'd used countless times before. It usually disoriented opponents just long enough to give him an edge. But Gloria didn't wait. Before the kick fully rotated, she shifted inside the arc of his leg and locked his movement mid-spin. Not a fancy block, just raw practice timing. Her elbow tapped his sternum, not hard but right in the center, and Cody lost his balance. He stumbled back trying to catch himself, but she pivoted behind him, placed a palm gently between his shoulder blades, and down he went. Controlled again, and this time he stayed on the ground a little longer. People clapped, not mockingly, not sarcastically. Real clapping, the kind you hear when someone finally notices something they'd overlooked for too long. Cody sat up, shaking his head, grinning despite himself. Where the hell did you learn that? Gloria helped him up again. I started training in 82. Okinawan Goju Ryu, moved through Shotokan, then Judo. A little bit of Krav Maga after I turned 50. Cody just stared at her. Jesus. No, she replied. Just Gloria. The crowd laughed this time. It wasn't at her, it was because they knew she'd earned it. Why haven't I seen you around before? He asked. I moved here last month, she said. First time back in a gym in a few years. Cody took a breath, nodded, and gave her a light bow. No jokes this time. Sam, the gym owner, slowly walked onto the mat. You just here to watch? He asked her. I was thinking about signing up, she replied. He held out his hand. You just did. More laughter, some people clapped again. Cody stepped off the mat, sweat dripping from his forehead. He passed two teenage boys who'd been filming on their phones. One whispered, You good, bro? Cody looked at them and smiled. I'm better than I was 15 minutes ago. The boys looked confused. Cody kept walking. Meanwhile, Gloria sat back on the bench and calmly took a sip from her water bottle. The room hadn't gone back to normal. It couldn't. Something had cracked open and nobody was pretending otherwise. One of the trainers, a woman named Shanice, approached her. That was something, she said. Gloria smiled for the first time all afternoon. It's just muscle memory. Nothing special. You ever teach? Used to. A long time ago. Well, Shanice said, motioning toward the mat. They're listening now. Gloria looked around. People who hadn't noticed her when she walked in were now looking like they were trying to memorize her face. But the next 24 hours would prove it wasn't just the gym that needed reminding. By the time the clip made it online that evening, it had already circulated within the gym's group chats. Trainers were texting each other. People who had gone home early were kicking themselves for missing it live. It wasn't a flashy video, just a 90-second, slightly shaky phone recording. No slow motion, no editing. You could hear the thud of Cody hitting the mat and the quiet gasp that followed. You could hear Gloria say, Are you sure? Before they started, and you could see, plain as day, that the older woman had more control than anyone in that gym expected. The caption was simple. She's 63. He's a black belt. She made it look easy. Within hours, it had thousands of views. By morning, tens of thousands. Cody didn't hide from it. He reposted it on his own story with the caption, Respect where it's due. That move surprised some people. Others weren't shocked at all. He'd always been cocky, yes, but he could take a hit and give credit when it counted. Meanwhile, Gloria had no idea it had gone viral until Shanice called her. I hope you don't mind, she said, a little breathless, but that clip, you're kind of famous now. Gloria frowned, phone balanced between her shoulder and cheek as she stirred a pot of oatmeal. For what? The spar. The video, Cody posted it. People are asking who you are, where you trained, if you teach. I'm just a retired grandma who used to fight. Shanice laughed. You might be the only grandma in America who can toss a man half her age without breaking a sweat. I broke a little, Gloria said. My hip reminded me when I got home. But truth be told, she wasn't sore, not really. Something had kicked in, something she hadn't felt in a while. Not adrenaline, something deeper, steadier, like an old engine warming up after sitting still for too long. Later that week she came back to the gym. No camera crew, no fanfare. Just her same sneakers and her same duffel. As she stepped inside, heads turned, not in a gawking way, more like respect. One young woman, maybe 19 or 20, paused on her way to the locker room. Miss Gloria? She asked. Yes. Can I train with you sometime? Gloria hesitated. Why? Because I've never seen anyone move like that and I felt safe watching you. Like maybe I could do that too. Gloria looked at her. There was something honest in her face. No flattery, just hope. I'll be here Thursday, she said. Same time. The girl smiled and nodded. Okay. The trainer started inviting Gloria to give small demonstrations. Nothing formal, just walking a few people through techniques after class. At first she said no, but Shanice insisted. People trust you. That doesn't happen often, not like this. Eventually, Gloria agreed, and it wasn't long before even the advanced class members were watching her foot placement, asking questions, trying to copy the subtle shifts in her stance that didn't look like much until you were on the ground. Even Cody showed up, quiet and eager. One afternoon after class, he approached her while she was wrapping her hands. You free tomorrow morning? He asked. For what? Private session. I want to learn from you. Not spar, just learn. Gloria didn't answer right away. She finished adjusting the wraps around her wrist, then looked up at him. You sure you're ready to listen? I wasn't before. I am now. She nodded once. Bring coffee. I like dark roast. He smiled, a little relieved. Deal. They met at 8 a.m. sharp the next morning, just as the sun peeked through the east-facing windows of the gym. No one else was there. Cody showed up with 2 cups from a local shop. One black, one with oat milk, just in case. She took the black one, sipped, then said, Let's begin. No warm-up, no speeches. She started with posture, breathing, balance. Things he thought he knew but quickly realized he hadn't fully understood. You're fast, she told him, but speed is just movement. Control is what makes it count. He listened, truly listened. They trained in silence for nearly 40 minutes before he finally spoke. Why'd you stop? Life got busy. Husband passed. I moved around, taught a little here and there. But people stopped looking me in the eye. Figured I was past my time. He didn't know what to say to that, so he just asked, Why come back now? She looked at him, her voice even. Because someone asked me what I got and I realized I never stopped having it. But Gloria had more to give than anyone at that gym had guessed, and she was only just getting started. By Thursday morning, the clip had cracked 2.3 million views. It made its way from martial arts forums to Reddit threads, from TikTok mashups to a spot on local news. The anchors barely knew how to describe what they'd seen. An older woman quietly flattening a man half her age with no theatrics, no yelling, just skill. They played it over and over, pausing on the moment her elbow made contact with Cody's chest and the frame caught his expression just before he hit the mat. The caption they ran under it was clunky, Grandma vs Black Belt. Guess who wins? Gloria hated that. She didn't say anything about it at first, but when the 4th stranger at Kroger came up to her while she was picking out tomatoes and asked, Are you that karate grandma? She sighed and looked the woman in the eye. I'm just Gloria. That's it. Oh, the woman said, a little embarrassed. Sorry, you were amazing. Thank you, Gloria said gently, but I'm not a mascot. That night she turned off her phone for the first time in weeks. But the attention wasn't just noise. It brought something real with it. Emails started arriving, some clumsy, some thoughtful. Parents asking if Gloria would train their daughters. A women's shelter from Fort Lauderdale asking if she'd consider running a self-defense weekend. A retired NYPD officer inviting her to speak on a podcast. She ignored most of it. It wasn't bitterness, it was just that she didn't need applause. She'd never trained for clout. Martial arts had been her language when the world didn't listen, a way to move forward without yelling, to protect herself without proving anything. And now the spotlight felt backwards. But there were a few messages she couldn't ignore. One was from a woman named Jocelyn Evans, 56, a middle school teacher in Lafayette, Louisiana. Her email was short, no flattery, no big ask. It read, I saw your video. I used to train too. Haven't put on a GI in 20 years. I watched that clip and cried. You reminded me of who I was before life softened me out of shape. Thank you. Gloria stared at that message for a long time. She didn't write back, not right away. Instead, she sat on the edge of her bed, stared out the window and whispered, What did I do, really? But deep down she knew. She'd reminded people not of how strong she was, but how strong they could be. When she showed up at the gym that weekend, Sam handed her a folded paper with a smirk. Thought you might want to see this. It was a printed copy of Martial Way, an old martial arts magazine still published monthly. On the cover was a still frame from the now famous video. Gloria mid-motion, foot barely touching the mat, eyes locked in focus. The headline read, "The comeback no one saw coming." She sighed. They love a story they didn't have to earn. Sam chuckled. They just didn't expect it to come wrapped in a 63-year-old woman with reading glasses. They're not reading the right stories, she replied. Cody showed up not long after. He looked different, quieter, humbled, yes, but not broken. If anything, more grounded. He pulled her aside after class and said, "I watched that clip maybe 50 times. Not 'cause I got dropped, because you didn't flinch." "I did," she said. "Just not on the outside." He grinned. "That's worse." He handed her a small notebook. On the cover in gold marker he'd written, "Things Gloria said that smacked me in the face." She shook her head. "You're ridiculous." "But I'm learning," he said, flipping to a page. "See, control is what makes it count. That one's underlined. You're quoting me now?" "Yep. Free lessons." He flipped through a few pages and saw her own words scribbled and dated. Then she paused at one. "You can't outrun aging, but you can meet it standing up." She didn't remember saying it, but she must have. Sounded like her. "You really listening?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah. For the first time in a long time." But it wasn't just Cody who was paying attention anymore. And Gloria had to decide what to do with all the eyes now watching. Long before the internet dubbed her the Karate Grandma, Gloria Trenton had a name people knew in smaller rooms, in quiet dojos, in places where respect wasn't earned through trending clips but through time, bruises, and years of showing up. She'd started training in 1982 in Jackson, Mississippi. The city wasn't known for martial arts, but there was a tiny, no-frills dojo run by a Korean War veteran named Master Woojin Han. Gloria walked in at age 21, recently married, fresh off a miserable waitressing shift, tired of being talked over and stared at. She hadn't planned on staying. She just wanted to learn how to stop being afraid. Instead, she fell in love with the silence between movements, the discipline, the clarity of form. Han never raised his voice. He didn't praise often, but after 2 months of training, he handed her a slightly chipped white belt and said, "You come back. You're real." She trained there 5 days a week for the next 12 years. Her husband, Gerald, wasn't a fan. "Why are you wasting your evenings doing that boy stuff?" he asked once, sipping a beer on their porch. Gloria had just come back from a sparring class. Her wrist was wrapped, her shin bruised, but her eyes were calm. "It keeps me from throwing a pan at you when you say stuff like that." They both laughed, but underneath it things weren't good. The marriage had cracks, big ones, and while martial arts didn't fix them, it gave her strength. Real strength, not the kind that punches, but the kind that lets you walk away when it's time. She finally left Gerald in 1998. No scene, no fight, just a note on the kitchen table, the keys to the Buick, and her duffel bag full of belts. She moved to Birmingham, Alabama, and started over. There she began teaching women in the community center. Most of them single moms, some survivors, others just tired of walking with their keys between their fingers at night. She didn't advertise, didn't charge much, just opened the door, turned on the lights, and let the word spread. One woman, Deja Middleton, had 2 kids and a restraining order that never seemed to matter. After 3 classes with Gloria, she said, "You don't teach us how to fight. You teach us how to stop shaking." Gloria nodded. "Same thing sometimes." Over the years she trained hundreds, never ran a business, never franchised. She wasn't interested in money, just safety, just dignity. Then came the call from the Birmingham PD. They'd heard about her classes from a detective whose niece trained with her. "We're rolling out a community outreach program," the captain said. "Would you consider helping train female officers in close contact restraint?" She agreed under one condition: "I train them the same way I train everyone else. No shortcuts, no power trips." The captain said yes. That's where she met Officer Lenora Vick, who would later become a precinct chief. Lenora remembered her first class with Gloria vividly. "She moved like a ripple through water," she'd said once in an interview. "No wasted motion, just purpose." Gloria taught at the academy for 6 years, not officially on payroll, just a quiet force in the background. Lenora tried to nominate her for a civic award once. Gloria declined. "I don't need a plaque. I need these women to walk away standing taller." He kept that pace for nearly a decade, training, guiding, teaching. Then her sister fell ill in 2014, cancer, fast and cruel. Gloria moved to Macon, Georgia to take care of her, spent 2 years there barely touching her gloves. After her sister passed, Gloria moved again, this time to Decatur, quiet town, no connections. She figured it was time to rest. But something always pulled her back. And when Cody Ramirez pointed at her with a smirk and said, "Show us what you got," it wasn't ego that made her stand up. It was instinct. That moment peeled back all the years. Not for glory, not for attention, just a chance to remind herself she still had it and always did. Now her name was trending online, people reaching out from places she'd never heard of. But to the people who knew her story, who trained with her in dusty basements and drafty rec centers, she'd always been that woman. But if the world was ready to ask who Gloria Trenton was, it also had to be ready for the part they hadn't seen yet. By the time Gloria agreed to speak at a local self-defense seminar in Stone Mountain, some folks had already started calling her the Quiet Storm. Not because she was flashy, because she wasn't. Not because she was loud, because she never was. It was the stillness, the certainty. She walked like she didn't owe anyone an explanation. The seminar was held in a church basement. Folding chairs, fluorescent lights, a table with store-bought cookies and a half-full coffee urn. Nothing fancy. That was fine by Gloria. She didn't need a platform, she needed room to move. About 30 people came, mostly women, some teenagers, a few men who stood in the back with crossed arms, clearly skeptical. That didn't bother her either. She started the way she always did. No PowerPoint, no long introductions. "My name is Gloria Trenton," she said. "I've trained in 5 martial arts systems over 40 years. I've taught women, kids, cops and corrections officers. I'm not here to show off. I'm here to make sure the next time someone grabs your wrist, your brain doesn't freeze." A woman in the front row raised her hand. "Did you really train police?" "Yes." "Was that hard?" Gloria nodded once. At first, some of them didn't want to be corrected by a woman, especially not one under 5'3". The room laughed. "He didn't. I didn't go there to get liked. I went there to make sure their training wasn't just muscle but control. Because if you can't keep your cool when things get ugly, you're not helping anybody." One man in the back shifted uncomfortably. Gloria caught it, didn't press, just said, "Force without restraint is fear pretending to be strength." That line landed hard. After the seminar, a young officer approached her. He was maybe 24, fresh buzz cut, still carrying that anxious stiffness new cops have before they've been broken in. "I'm training with the county," he said. "We had a female instructor once, but she didn't get a lot of respect." Gloria looked at him. "You think I care about respect from people who haven't earned mine?" He flushed. "I didn't mean it like that." "I know. That's why you're asking instead of telling." He nodded slowly. "Can I come to one of your sessions?" She handed him a paper with her schedule on it. "First class is free. Second one's earned." That's how it always was with Gloria. She didn't chase students. If you wanted to learn, show up early and listen. She'd meet you halfway. Word kept spreading. More emails came in, not from fans but from people who remembered. One message stopped her cold. Subject line, "Lenora Vick says hi." Gloria clicked it open and read, "Chief now, Clayton County. Thought of you when I saw the video. You still move like silk on brick. We could use you out here. Not full-time, just one session one afternoon." Gloria stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keys. Then she typed, "Tell me when and where." She drove down the next Friday, pulled up to the precinct in a rental car, wore loose jeans, tennis shoes and a canvas jacket. No makeup, no ego. Lenora met her outside, grinning ear to ear. Time had left silver at her temples and smile lines around her mouth, but her eyes were still sharp. "I'll be honest," Lenora said, hugging her. "I wasn't sure you'd say yes. I wasn't sure you'd still be here." They laughed. Inside they walked past rows of young recruits and older officers alike. Some recognized her. Others didn't yet. In the training room, Gloria stepped onto the mat, looked around and said, "Show me your wrist escapes." A few volunteers stepped up. They showed the textbook moves, rotations, elbow tucks, foot pivots. Then Gloria asked one of them to grip her wrist. He did. She moved once, small, controlled, and his balance shifted. She didn't throw him, just made him move. "You don't fight a hold," she said. "You change where the fight is." There were no cheers, just silence, then the scribble of pens on notepads. Afterward, Lenora walked her to the car. You thinking about teaching again? I'm not thinking about stopping anymore. But Gloria wasn't returning to the past. She was carving out something new, and this time it was on her terms. Cody Ramirez wasn't the same after that first takedown. He said it aloud a week later during a quiet moment in the locker room. Nobody else was there, just him and Sam, the gym owner, sipping old coffee from styrofoam cups after Saturday's early class. I thought I had something figured out, Cody muttered, lacing up his sneakers. But that day Gloria showed me I've been bluffing confidence for years. Sam didn't say much, he just nodded and sipped. Cody had grown up thinking strength came from dominance. You win, you talk a little trash, you own the moment. He wasn't cruel, just cocky, and until Gloria no one had really challenged that image. He'd won regional tournaments, sparred against higher belts, held his own in every gym he'd entered. But that day when she stepped into the ring he felt it, something heavier than pressure. Presence. And it shook him. So he started showing up differently. He'd arrive 10 minutes early, ask questions instead of giving tips, watch other people spar without sizing them up. He even apologized to Shanice for mocking her low kicks 2 months earlier. I was a jerk, he said plainly. I didn't know I was doing it, but I was. She blinked, surprised. Did Gloria knock some sense into you? He half smiled. She knocked something loose, maybe. That was it. But Cody wanted more than change. He wanted to understand how Gloria had become who she was, how she moved with precision even when she wasn't trying. So he asked her to train privately again. You already owe me coffee, she said. I'll buy the next 10. The next few sessions were quiet, focused, no ego. She corrected his posture not by yelling but with questions. Why are you putting your weight on your toes here? I thought that's where I'm supposed to launch from. And how many times have you been countered mid-launch? Too many. So stop launching. Start listening. It wasn't about technique. It was about control, patience, real discipline. They trained once a week in the mornings long before the gym got busy, just the two of them. And Cody found himself talking more than he expected. Not about training but about himself. My dad wasn't really around, he said one morning while they were cooling down. Taught myself most things. Fighting made sense, I could control it. Gloria didn't offer pity. She just said, a lot of us come to the mat looking for something we didn't get at home. He looked up. Did you? I came looking for a way to keep my voice steady. Cody didn't respond right away, but he nodded deeply. Their bond grew quietly, no announcements, no photos, just work. But people noticed. Shanice mentioned it to Sam. He's different now. Not softer, just sharper. Sam smiled. That's what happens when a real teacher shows up. The gym had begun to shift, slowly but undeniably. Younger members started paying closer attention to the small stuff. Footwork, posture, breathing. People who used to hog sparring time started giving room for others to step in. There was less showboating, more focus. And Cody? He started guiding new members with the same patience Gloria showed him. One afternoon during open sparring, a lanky kid named Kellen, just 15, asked if Cody could go around with him. The kid was nervous, jittery, all limbs. Cody smiled and said, only if you agree to make me work. They sparred light at first, then faster, and when Kellen landed a decent tap on Cody's shoulder, Cody stopped, took a step back and nodded. Nice read, he said. You saw my foot placement shift. That was smart. Kellen beamed. Gloria watched from the bench. She didn't say a word, but when Cody walked by afterward she gave a small nod. You're not just strong, she said. You're useful now. That compliment stayed with him longer than any trophy he'd ever won. Later that week, Gloria got a card in the mail, handwritten, no return address. Inside it read, thank you for making me want to be better. Not just stronger. Better. CR. She smiled, folded the card, and placed it inside a small tin where she kept letters that mattered. Only a few were in there. This one earned its place. But as Cody found his footing, Gloria was quietly preparing for something bigger. Something that would change the gym for good. It didn't happen overnight, but the rhythm of East Side martial arts started to change and everyone felt it. For years, the gym had a certain unspoken hierarchy. The strongest talked the loudest, the younger guys took over the mats. If you were new or older or didn't look the part, you kept your head down. Nobody said that aloud, but everyone moved like it was true. Then Gloria showed up and the whole script got rewritten. You started seeing older folks pop in during open sessions not just to watch but to stretch, to ask questions. Some of them came with their grandkids, some came alone. A 67-year-old man named Rodney started taking beginner judo. Said he hadn't tried anything physical since his knees gave out in '09, but after seeing that lady in the glasses throw a man like laundry, he figured he didn't have an excuse. The gym made adjustments. Shanice added a fundamentals class 3 mornings a week. Light contact, balance work, no egos allowed. They called it grounded. Gloria helped design the format. At first, only a handful signed up. Then the list doubled, then tripled. And not everyone attending was out of shape or fragile. There were younger women who didn't like the pressure of competitive sparring, men who'd walked away from the sport after an injury or burnout, teenagers who'd been bullied and didn't want to fight. They just wanted not to freeze. Gloria led those sessions without much talking. Her feedback was short, direct, never harsh. Breathe before you move. Your body is faster than your fear. Trust it. Don't panic when you lose balance. That's the lesson. She rarely raised her voice, but people leaned in like every word counted because it did. Even Sam, the owner, found himself shifting gears. I used to think we had to build up the toughest guys to attract attention, he said one afternoon while watching the new class. But people show up for trust, not toughness. The gym atmosphere got quieter in a way. Not less energetic, just more focused. People started warming up together. Seniors partnered with teens. Cody and Shanice began co-teaching on Saturdays. And somewhere along the way, folks stopped measuring skill by noise or belts. They started paying attention to how people moved when no one was watching. One Wednesday evening, a woman named Teresa came in, mid-50s, long braid down her back. Looked nervous, kept checking her phone like she wasn't sure if she should stay. Gloria spotted her from across the room. "You here for grounded?" she asked. I don't know. My daughter signed me up. She said you'd understand." Gloria walked over, took her gently by the wrist and said, "Then you're already in." Teresa didn't say much during class, but she stayed, and when she left, her posture had changed, shoulders back, chin lifted, like someone who'd found the edge of herself and stepped a little beyond it. Stories like that started piling up. Someone left a note in the gym's comment box. "I'm 61. I thought my body was done learning. You showed me it's just starting again." Someone else donated money for new mats anonymously. Just a card with, "Thank you, Gloria," and a check inside. Gloria didn't like the attention, still didn't have social media, still refused interviews, but she accepted the kindness when it came in useful form. "I don't need people to praise me," she told Sam. "I need them to keep showing up when it's hard." One night after class, Cody leaned against the wall and watched the older group practicing their break falls on foam mats. "You think this sticks?" he asked. Gloria didn't look up. She was correcting someone's stance. "If they believe they belong here, it will." Cody nodded slowly. "You ever think about opening your own gym?" She paused. "I thought about it years ago." "Why not?" "Didn't think people would take me seriously." He looked around the room at the packed class, the laughter, the focus. "They're taking you seriously now." She smiled faintly, then turned back to her students. But while Gloria was content to teach in borrowed space, something bigger was already forming, an idea that wouldn't stay small for long. The first time Gloria heard someone say she was breaking stereotypes, she winced. It was meant as a compliment, well-intentioned, enthusiastic, almost admiring. But it didn't sit right. She was in the back room wrapping her knees after class when Shanice walked in with a laptop open to a blog post. "Look," she said, "you're in this article. They called you a walking contradiction, said you're redefining what strength looks like." Gloria raised an eyebrow. What did they think it looked like before? Shanice paused. "You know what they meant." "Yeah," Gloria replied. "And that's the problem." She didn't need to be seen as exceptional just because she was older or black or female. She wasn't a contradiction, she was consistent. The world just had a narrow definition of what strength looked like, and she'd never fit inside that mold to begin with. Later that evening, Cody brought it up while they were sweeping the mats. "People keep calling you an icon." "I'm not." "Well, you're something. You got the whole gym changing pace." "I didn't do anything fancy, Cody. I just didn't apologize for being here." He leaned on the broom. "That's exactly what makes it matter." Gloria studied him. "You want to know the truth?" He nodded. "I used to think respect was something you earned by proving yourself. outlasting, outworking, outperforming. But I've learned it's not about showing people who you are. It's about knowing it so clearly that their opinions stop being the reason you show up. Cody was quiet for a second, then he said, "That sounds like something I should tattoo on my forearm." She smirked. "Do that and I'm taking back the coffee." But she meant it. Respect had always been complicated. She'd walked into gyms over the years where people wouldn't shake her hand until they saw her fight, where they'd ask who she was with, assuming she was somebody's mom waiting in the lobby, where they'd lower their voices and raise their eyebrows like they were being polite but not equal. Those places didn't deserve her time, so she stopped wasting it on proving anything. That's what made this moment different. Because now the people around her weren't just impressed. They were listening and learning and changing the way they treated each other. One night, a boy in his early 20s named Elijah came up to her after class. He was new, had only been coming for 2 weeks. Tall, quiet, built like a wide receiver but moved like a puppy trying not to knock anything over. "Miss Gloria?" he asked awkwardly, tugging at his sleeve. "Can I ask you something kind of personal?" She looked up. "You can ask. I might not answer." He grinned nervously. "Fair. Did you ever get tired of having to be strong all the time?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she motioned for him to sit beside her on the bench. "When I was your age," she said, "people assumed I was strong before I even opened my mouth. Not because they knew me, but because they'd already decided what kind of box I belonged in." He nodded slowly. "I got tired of pretending. That didn't wear me down. But I didn't get tired of being strong. I got tired of people thinking it was the only thing I had to be." She stood up, grabbed her bag. "Strength isn't just what you use to fight back. Sometimes it's what you use to stay soft when the world wants to harden you." Elijah looked stunned. "Can I write that down?" "You don't have to," she said. "It'll find you again later." And with that she walked off. That conversation rippled. Word got around. People started opening up more during warm-ups, talking less about belts, more about real stuff. Loss, family, doubts. The gym became more than a training space. It became a space where people felt seen, not just strong, seen. And that shift, Gloria believed, was the real lesson. But before anyone could call it finished, Gloria had one more thing to teach, and this time the whole city would be watching. The flyer was simple, just black text on a white background, thumbtacked to the gym bulletin board between a missing water bottle notice and a faded tournament schedule. Open session, community class with Gloria Trenton. All ages. All backgrounds. No experience needed. Saturday, 10 a.m. Sam had asked her if she wanted something more polished. Maybe a design, a photo, a big headline. Gloria shook her head. If people want to learn, they'll come. If they want flash, they'll scroll by. Saturday morning, there were cars lined up around the block. Some came from nearby. Others drove in from different counties. Word had gotten out, slow at first, then loud. The video, the articles, the whispers. But it wasn't just hype anymore. It was curiosity with purpose, the kind that comes when people feel like something real is happening and they don't want to miss it. The gym was packed by 9:30 a.m. Parents with kids, college students, seniors in sweatpants, a woman with a walking cane, a man in scrubs straight from an overnight shift. Everyone had a reason. None of them knew quite what to expect. Gloria arrived at 9:58 a.m. She wore plain black pants, a gray t-shirt, and her usual no-nonsense expression. No entourage, no camera crew, just her. She stepped onto the mat, took a long look around the room and said, "We're not here to fight. We're here to learn how not to fall apart." It got quiet, the kind of quiet that meant people were listening for more than just technique. Then she asked the group to spread out and sit. No warm-ups, no introductions, just one question. "What brought you here?" At first, silence. Then someone, a woman in her 40s, raised her hand. "I walk my daughter to school every day and I keep thinking if someone ever tried to grab her, I wouldn't know what to do." Gloria nodded. "What else?" A man near the back spoke up. "My mom got mugged last month. She's okay, but she won't leave the house now." More voices followed. "I was followed to my car last week. I lost my confidence after a bad fall. I've always felt like I couldn't protect myself." Gloria listened to everyone, didn't interrupt, didn't give pep talks. Then she stood. Most of us were taught that survival means toughness, that if we just clench our fists hard enough, people won't mess with us. But that's not how it works. You can't clench your way through fear. You have to learn to move with it. She stepped forward and motioned to Shanice, who was waiting near the edge of the mat. Show them, Gloria said. Wrist grab, front approach. Shanice grabbed her wrist. Gloria barely moved, just a turn, a shift, a pivot. Her hand was free in under a second. It's not about force, she said. It's about awareness and control and knowing you have the right to protect your space. She taught 3 techniques that morning. Simple ones: escape from a wrist grab, a center of gravity shift, how to breathe through adrenaline. No flips, no strikes, just tools. And the room was locked in. She moved through the rows, correcting foot placement here, adjusting shoulders there, speaking in a tone that felt more like guidance than instruction. You don't need to be young, you need to be present. You don't need to be strong, you need to be grounded. You don't need to fight everyone, just don't freeze when it matters. At the end, she gathered everyone back into a circle. You're not weak because you're scared, she said. You're strong when you act in spite of it. People clapped, not loud, not rowdy, just grateful. Afterward, she stayed an extra hour. People came up with questions, stories, thank yous. Some cried, others offered hugs. A man handed her a worn-out copy of The Art of War and said, "This book taught me strategy. You taught me the purpose behind it." Cody stood nearby, arms crossed, a quiet smile on his face. Sam walked over. You realize we're going to need a bigger space, right? Gloria looked around the crowded room, still buzzing with conversation and connection. I'm not opening a school, she said. I'm building a reminder that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers and people finally hear it. A little girl, no more than 8, tugged on Gloria's shirt before she left. Miss Gloria? She asked. Yes, baby. When I grow up, I want to move like you. Gloria bent down, looked her in the eye. You already can. You just haven't practiced yet. And just like that, she knew. This wasn't a moment. It was a start. So if you're watching this thinking you're too old, too late, too out of place, don't wait for permission. You don't need it. Start now. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their strength. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that matter.